Hi there, I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I'm offering this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. It is titled, We Need Not Fear the Dark, Removing the Masks of Hallo'ween. And I'm going to begin with a story by Mary Ann Moore, and it's titled Hide and Seek with God. And it begins as all good stories begin. It's a beautiful little story. Once upon a time, God said, I'm bored because I don't have anything to do. I want to play with my friends. And because God is God, as soon as the words were spoken, God's friends were there. When God saw them all gathered, God said, I've been bored because I haven't had anything to do. Let's play something. Good idea, said God's friends. What shall we play? God thought for a minute and then said, I know. Let's play hide and seek. The friends all said, yay, yay, for they knew that hide and seek with God was always exciting and different because God was the one who hid and God always thought of wonderful places to hide. God's friends closed their eyes tight and counted to 10. When they opened their eyes, God wasn't there anymore. So they all went off to look for God. One friend decided to look close on the earth and soon came to a meadow. As he was searching, he stopped to admire the tender new sprouts of green grass pushing their way up toward the sun. As he bent over to look more closely at the tender green, he realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. So he jumped up and ran back to the home base, calling out, I found God. God is green and growing. I found God in the grass. Another one of God's friends decided to look for God in the night. She watched the sun go down and heard the workaday noises stop and saw the lights in the houses go out. As it got darker and the peaceful night wrapped itself around her, she listened very hard. And then she realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. And when it was so still that she could see and hear nothing at all, she suddenly jumped up and ran to home base, calling out, I found God. God is dark and peaceful. I found God in the night. A third friend looked on the earth and felt the mystery of the grass growing toward the sun. He stayed and watched the night come on, and he felt the mystery of the darkness and the stars. He thought to himself, these mysteries are special and amazing and wonderful. But when he finally came back to home base, he said, I found wonderful mysteries, but I'm not sure if I want to call them God. A fourth friend decided to look for God where people were. He joined a group of people going home from work and went with them into the store where they bought food. He went with them back out on the street as they started for their homes. He was with them when someone came up and said, Please, I'm very hungry. Could you share a little food with me? The people readily agreed, and as he watched them share, he realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about those people. He turned around and ran to the home base, calling out, I found God. God is love and sharing. I found God in people who care for others. Finally, two more of God's friends, a boy and a girl, decided to look for God together. After a time, they came to a house and decided to look for God in the house. In the house, they saw a room, and they looked for God in the room. In the room, they saw a mirror, and they looked for God in the mirror. As they looked into the mirror, they realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful being reflected in it. They turned around and ran to home base, calling out, We found God. We found God in us. At this, God appeared again and said, I had so much fun. Weren't these those good hiding places? Some of you found me, others weren't sure, and others are still looking. That's okay, because the most important thing is just to play the game. Let's do it again. I'm sure I can think of some other good hiding places. And they all called out, Ollie, Ollie, oxen, free, free, free. And the game started all over again. So we need to look everywhere and anywhere. We need to play the game that is life, and we will find what we will find, and we will understand it in ways that we understand, or not, as the case may be. So today is the 30th of October. It is the eve of All Hallows Eve, or Halloween. Halloween. Tomorrow, the day after Halloween, is All Saints' Day, or All Hallows Day, which is followed on the 2nd of November by All Souls' Day, a time in the Christian calendar to remember all souls who have departed this life. Like other Christian festivals, including Christmas, Easter, and Whitsuntide, these 3 autumn days are a fascinating mixture of pre-Christian, Christian, and even post-Christian tradition and mythos. I am fairly certain that the children going door to door at Halloween are probably not aware that they have created a modern-day variant on the pre-Christian festival of Samhain, a festival that not only celebrated harvest, but was also a time to commune with the spirits of ancestors. There are similar traditions throughout most cultures' autumnal and winter festivals. Autumn is a time of reflection, a time to take stock before the harsh realities of winter come. At this time of year, we acknowledge the coming of darkness. Yet the dark is something so many are afraid of. We are so many afraid of the dark, the unknown. We need not be. There is a richness even in the dark. There is something in the shadow, the unknown. Maybe it's in the darkness that we can find aspects of the divine love that cannot be known in the light. In my experience, God is as present in the dark as in the light, perhaps more so actually sometimes. I certainly seem to experience God more then. And it brings to mind the following from the Psalm 139 verses 7 to 12, which reminds me in some ways of the story I've just shared, hide and seek with God. So this is from the King James Version, the classic language. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I may make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. Whither shall I flee from thy presence? God is everywhere or nowhere, even in the dark. And maybe only in the dark can we know certain aspects of the divine love that we cannot know in the light. Now, people like to dress up at Halloween. They also put on masks that hides who or what they are. People sometimes play hide and seek games, trying to figure out who is who or where certain figures are hiding. The masks hide who we are. Playing hide and seek and hiding in general is often how we find many of the secrets of life. We have to search, sometimes in the dark, to find what we are looking for. And faith for me is about seeking, often in the places we would rather not look. If we do not look, we will never find. Now, last Tuesday, the 25th of October to be accurate, just as I was putting this service together, I came across the following daily reflection posted by the Reverend Laura Dobson, who is the minister at Macclesfield and Chorlton Unitarian Churches and Chapels. And the post is a quote from Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Here it goes. In myths and fairy tales, deities and other great spirits test the hearts of humans by showing up in various forms that disguise their divinity. They show up in robes, rags, silver sashes, or with muddy feet. They show up with skin dark as old wood, or in scales made of rose petal, as a frail child, as a lime yellow old woman, as a man who cannot speak, or as an animal who can. The great powers are testing to see if humans have yet learnt to recognize the greatness of soul in all its varying forms. How much is hidden in life? How much is hidden within ourselves? How many of us fail to recognize the greatness of soul within life and within ourselves? How much do we hide behind our own masks and personas? So many of us are hiding behind so many masks. I wonder how many are really seeking, especially seeking in the darker places of life. Are we too afraid to look in the dark? People have always worn masks. They seem to be an aspect of every culture. Often they help us tell our mythological tales, revealing something of the truth of life through that wonderful vehicle, the story. In the plays of ancient Greece, masks were worn and exchanged by the players to depict each individual's persona. The word persona itself is actually derived from personare, which meant to sound through. For it was not only the face of the character that was expressed through the mask, but also the voice was exaggerated through speaking through the mask. Isn't there something beautifully powerful in this? It's a wonderful metaphor for who we are as human beings. In many ways, we can be identified as much by our voices as by our faces. And we can attempt to cover up who we are through our voices as much as our faces too. We can hide who we are by changing our voices, if you like. Masks, of course, are not only the domain of ancient times either. Many of our modern day heroes wear masks too. In many ways, the hero has to wear a mask in order to protect his identity and therefore walk through life anonymously. It seems a hero cannot be a hero 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. The demands and the pressures, it seems, would be too much for them to be who they are all the time. Think about Zorro, who has to don his mask in order to fight for his people. Think about Batman and Spider-Man too, whose greatest fears are to be unmasked. There are many, many other examples too. Now, there is a part of me that doesn't like any of this idea of hiding who we are or having to be transformed into someone else to become a hero or a completely different personality, persona. There is a loneliness in it that I want to rebel against this loneliness. Think about it. All those heroes have a loneliness about them. They all have a dark side. They somehow can't quite connect with everybody else. There is something about wearing the masks that depict hiding these aspects of darkness. Our own darkness, perhaps. Something we must hide. Now, all this hiding or changing persona or being something different brings to mind dark figures from folklore and often horror films too, actually. Brought to mind a figure that has always haunted me, actually. You see them all over the place. There are festivals for them now everywhere. The Scarecrow. Perhaps the epitome of a loneliness in an effigy, standing there alone in the field. They are the loneliest of the lonely. They stand alone, arms outstretched, staring at the world, alone in the field. No one gets near the scarecrow, not even the crows. So I've kind of got a love-hate relationship, not hate perhaps. So there's the dark and the light side to the scarecrow. Because actually, I remember as a child, one of my favourite TV programmes was Wurzel Gummage. Like so many other children's characters, Wurzel desperately wanted to fit in and be a part of life, but he never really succeeded. Now, while Wurzel didn't wear a mask exactly, he did something far more extreme than removing a mask or putting on a mask. He would have to painfully remove his own head and replace it with another totally different one that completely changed his persona, his personality. For poor old Wurzel, whatever he did always ended in disaster, and he could never be what he tried so hard to be. He was always on the outside, looking at the world alone, a scarecrow, not a part of human life. He wore a different head for every occasion, but that did not help him become what he wanted to be. And how many of us wear masks or put on different heads, if you like, in our attempts to be accepted? Why do we believe we are not good enough just as we are, exactly as we are in this present moment, warts and all and beauty spots too? Why do we believe we need to act differently around certain people just to fit in? Why do we think we need to wear different masks or change our heads for different occasions and even change the way that we speak, some people do, to fit in order to be accepted? How many people lose their accents deliberately for some shame about where they come from or their past, or perhaps just some shame about who they are? It's sad, really. We are who we are. And we do not need to hide who we are. We need to seek for life, in the light, and in the dark. We must not enshadow who we are to hide in the shadows, nor should we be afraid to search in the darker places of life. There is so much of soul waiting to be found in life and within ourselves. So many of us fear the dark, the unknown, the unseen, the uncertain. The truth is, though, that so much of life is uncertain. I have learned that it is vital to accept this, to surrender to this, and through this you find the courage to simply live and truly be yourself and to discover real faith in life once again. We cannot hide from anything. We cannot hide behind our masks. We cannot hide from the dark. We cannot hide from who we are by hiding behind another persona. We are who we are. Now I'm going to end this little devotion, and I'm going to end it the way that I began, actually, with a little story. It's to do with the fear of the dark, I suppose. It's about a young boy who lived with his parents on a farm. His job each afternoon was to fetch the afternoon paper so that his dad could read after a long day at work. Dad could read the paper while relaxing, eating his tea. Now, one early November day, he forgot to fetch the paper, and by now it was turning dark. Turned 4, 5 o'clock, nearly tea time, and his mum noticed that he'd not fetched the paper yet. So she asked her son if he would get the newspaper. 20 minutes later, she asked again. It's now getting towards 6 o'clock. And then 10 minutes later, still no paper. So she asked once again. This went on until the mum completely lost her temper and shouted at the boy, "Will you get your dad's paper, please?" At this point, the boy burst into tears. Now his mother, realizing something was wrong, went to the boy, who was inconsolable by now. After a while, she calmed him down and asked him what on earth was wrong. He began to explain that all of his life he'd been afraid of the dark, but was too afraid to let his parents know. His mother soothed him and then asked, "Now then, you are a boy of faith. and you believe in God. You believe that God is in you and with you, that God is in everything, even the dark. The boy nodded, and then his mother said, "There is no reason then to fear the dark, for God is in the dark and God can do anything. Now be a good lad and go and get your dad's paper." At this, the boy looked up at his mum smilingly and he went to the door. He opened the door and confidently shouted, "God, will you get me dad's paper, please?" Now there is some wisdom there, but it's for you to search and you to find. That's what faith's all about, It's all in the seeking. You may not find actually, but you may not find what you think you're looking for, but you might find something even more wonderful. But you must search in everything, even the places you'd rather not look. Amen. I'm going to end with some final words of blessing. We need to bless more, and we can all bless. We bless when we give ourselves wholeheartedly to life. So some words of blessing. There is finally only one thing required of us. That is to take life whole, the sunlight and shadows together, to live the life that is given us with courage and humour and truth. We have such a little moment out of the vastness of time for all our wondering and our loving. Therefore, let there be no half-heartedness. Rather, let the soul be ardent in its pain, in its yearning, in its praise. Then shall peace enfold our days, and glory shall not fade from our lives. And may the love of God be with us, and may it go with us, and come alive with us in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. Amen.